Welcome. Come with me. The doctors will see you now.
Welcome back to Fast Talks with Family Docs. I'm Dr. Veer Vidala. And I'm Dr. Phil Palmer. And today we are joined by a very special pair of guests who represent two generations of family medicine practicing right here in Oklahoma City. Dr. Tomás Owens and his son, Dr. Tomás Owens III. Dr. Tomás Owens has spent decades shaping family medicine in our state. He currently serves as the program director of the Integris Great Plains Family Medicine Residency, teaching full-spectrum family medicine, and he's the chair of family medicine at Integris Baptist Medical Center. He's also held numerous leadership roles throughout his career, including president of the Oklahoma Academy of Family Physicians and also the Oklahoma County Medical Society. Following in his footsteps, our other guest is Dr. Tomás Owens III, who's also a board-certified family medicine. He practices with OU Health Physicians in both Edmond and Oklahoma City. He has a specialization in sports medicine, and that fellowship was done also at the University of Oklahoma. He now cares for patients of all ages while bringing expertise in broad-spectrum family medicine, including OB, pediatrics, sports injuries, and rehabilitation. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having us.
And so we're excited to talk with you about your journeys in family medicine, how a father's career can inspire a son, how the next generation brings new energy and perspective to the field, and what it's like sharing a passion for caring for patients across the generations. So, Veer, let's begin.
Yes, sir. I guess I'll take this first question. It's for you, Dr. Tomás Owens. We're gonna call Dr. Tomás, Tomás and Thomas, and we're gonna switch it up here so we can differentiate. I can't just go Dr. Owens. So, Dr. Tomás, you've worn many hats throughout your career. You know, obviously a physician, but residency program director, an educator. You've had served as a leader in several organizations, including the OAFP and the OSMA. What motivated you to get involved in leadership, including roles beyond just clinical practice?
I think the beginning of that was my experience at home. You know, both my parents, my late parents were physicians, and they were really involved with organized medicine. And their take is a little bit like mine, which is you want to participate, you're part of a group, you feel the pride and the joy and the duty of being part of the group, but you're there just to help. And if leadership comes with it eventually, that's fine. But the primary goal is to be a part of it. In fact, my parents never became leaders in their organizations, but always very, very involved in them. And that's, I think, the beginning. And then once I came here, I tried to be involved early in the organizations to be a part of it. And it was actually Dr. Kevin Steichen that asked me for the first time if I wanted to participate in a committee at the academy. And I did. And with that, if you are there, they'll ask you for more or for else you can contribute. And I also figured, I'm older now after the years, that people know better what you're capable of than you do. And then the third thing that I've learned with time too is that you change with time too. So maybe I would not have been able to do certain things 30 years ago, and maybe now I can. And others recognize that too. So to me, it was just belonging, because that's part of it. Serving, which is, the most important reason. And then whatever else happens, it just happens.
So as you've done that and you've had leadership at this point in your career in multiple different organizations, both at the statewide level, the local level, and the national level, do you have a particular leadership philosophy that drives you as you get the opportunity in these positions? Are there principles that guide you as you serve in leadership?
I think it has evolved. It wasn't the same 35 years ago than it is today. I guess at first you were really enthusiastic about projecting what you know and getting your point across and trying to change things by just talking about them and all these things that you know. Over time, I think I learned more to listen more. Also, a lot of the issues that are brought in leadership, you don't have to fix them that minute, nor do you have to say something that minute. But if you listen and you give it yourself a little thought, sometimes next day you have a more reasonable solution. So my primary principle is to listen. The second is look it up. In the sense that oftentimes you hear this and your gut reaction is this, and then when you look up the actual facts, you go, wait a second, I should have inquired about this first. Now I understand where this is coming from. So I tend to sit back, listen, sometimes make notes, and then try to find out what happened. People at the office makes fun of me because I said, they said that no. Who said that? I need to, so I can address that person. Explain it to me. So that's just an example. But yeah, I try to gather more data, to listen, to think it over. And then what's trickier but easier at my old age, very hard when I was younger, and Dr. Palmer can tell you, we worked together a long time, is oftentimes you have to learn how to present your opinion in a way that doesn't ruffle people too much. And that's a skill that I am not going to say that I'm good at, but I'm better than I was 30 years ago.
Well, I can say you have a great skill at that, but then also, obviously, Veer, if the principles are listen and think before you speak and don't ruffle feathers, it's obviously why he's never pursued a position in Congress.
Yes.
So, Tomas, I have a question for you. Back to maybe tangential off the first question, but as you had your opportunities to join, you mentioned Kevin Steichen offered you a leadership opportunity. Sometimes people will say, oh, I can't do that, or I'm too busy, or I don't know enough about the organization. As a young doctor, was there anything that made you feel, I'm going to take this chance, I'm going to go ahead and assume some leadership? Was it something your parents told you? Was it something Kevin said? What helped you be able to take that step and be more involved than just a member?
I can't tell you offhand. It never occurred to me to not say yes for some reason. I've been asked, it's a kind thing to even ask me, let alone a young person with very little knowledge at that time. So I guess my thought was, they're asking me, I'm going to try to help. And if I don't know it, I'll learn it.
Yeah. That was a philosophy that had gotten you most of your career to that point. It's like, maybe from same skill set, let's try it out.
That's exactly right.
That's all of us, though. We all go through that, and I think that shows character, that we don't know something, we try to learn from it and provide a service. And I think it's a common thing we see among a lot of our guests here.
Sure,
absolutely.
But moving on to Dr. Thomas, and I feel like when we're growing up, dads are our heroes, and they have a lot of influence. My dad was a professor at UCO, and watching him teach kind of inspired me to love to teach, right, and take on students. And after hearing Dr. Owens' leadership philosophy, you grew up watching this firsthand, right?
Absolutely.
What was it like seeing that, and how did that influence you in your career choices, and did that influence you into taking up a job as a physician and going to med school? And
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's like probably not even enough time to explain the entirety of what that encompassed and what that meant. I think the biggest thing was definitely always seeing, my sister and I both benefited from this a lot. I think we had the chance to see how much he poured of himself into things. And that was across the board. So the other thing, of course, and I think I even talked a little bit about this the last time I was here, is when he was home, and he poured himself into everything we did. He made every game he could. He went to every event, every play, what you name it. If he was there, he was there. And at the same time, I got the chance to see a lot of that too. So if I had a chance to go to work with him, we would run into people. He would have to take a phone call from a resident, to just watch him absorb in and be present with that person he was on the line with, or to see him at the OFP meetings growing up, and to watch him work with Dr. Palmer and everyone else. It was such a cool thing to see him throw himself and all of himself into things that he did, that I think that cannot be infectious. So I think my sister and I benefited a lot from seeing that. I think especially too when it came from the medical side. I think watching, I probably get tearful if I think too much about it, but like having the chance to see, we would go to restaurants and sporting events and shops and stuff, and someone would walk up and be like, oh my goodness, Dr. Owens, and you would just see them almost even getting emotional themselves, running into someone who's meant so much to them, delivered their kids, the person that's been in their a rock in their family for 20 plus years and sees, three-fourths of the folks on the roster. And so it's like, I think seeing what that meant to the people around him too, I think that I could tell it meant a lot to him. And I know definitely with the relationship that I got to have with my grandparents, I could see very clearly where that apple fell. And I think I always just kind of never took that for granted, that I was pretty grateful to fall from the same tree.
Well, was there any like specific moment you remember where you're like, you watched something, interaction with dad, and you're like, this is what I want to do. This is the career choice for you, and why you chose medicine then?
Yeah, I don't know if there was like a singular moment. I think that definitely was a cumulative thing, and probably the most intriguing part, and probably the reason. It is kind of funny, and my dad will tell you a little bit probably about this too. But when I was in medical school, I went through this concept of thinking I'm going to keep my mind open. I'm not going to lock myself in. I get that I have my grandfather and father, both family medicine physicians, but I am going to look at every single option and embrace those options when I'm there. And sure enough, I went to every one of my rotations. I was like, this is awesome. Hey, OB, this is awesome. Oh, general surgery, I see parts of this are awesome. Maybe not the lifestyle, but that, everything else, like every time I went to a new block, I thought, this is so cool. Yeah. And I think the chance to always be engaging your brain and always be that person to also help patients navigate the medical field, I just thought that was such an incredibly cool experience. And then again, I had the chance to know that was already something on my radar growing up, because there wasn't a single thing. I mean, of course, everyone has different relationships with their parents, but I think a lot of us look up to our parents as like, they just know everything, right? And of course, at some point you get old enough to know that they don't know everything. But for a long time and to this day, I mean, I value my dad's insights and opinions more than almost anything in the world. So, and I'll never not feel that way. So it's kind of, I think that was just another cool example of seeing that same thing, just knowing that that is such a skill set that he developed and crafted over time. And by golly, if I could try to develop some of that and bring that to the table for the people that I get to see in the medical field, I'd consider myself really lucky.
Yeah, that's great. And Tomás, your son mentioned this. I was thinking the same thing before he did. Your parents are no longer living, but if they were, we could have a 3-generation podcast, because both your parents were physicians, your dad a family doc and your mom a neonatologist, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious from your perspective, how, if any way, did your parents influence your desire to be a physician? Was there something you saw with them, or was it not related?
It's really hard to say. Let me start by saying that anything that Thomas said is vastly exaggerated. The star of the show is Thomas. He is handsomer, taller.
Nonsense.
Much better with people. There's absolutely no question here. Well, my parents brought a lot of the office into the home. So I remember, regular dinner table for us was weird. My dad would be describing an abscess that he incised, and my mother would be describing some god-awful complication of a baby with diarrhea and this and that. And
pass the green beans.
And I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
Some of my siblings didn't appreciate it as much as I did, but I was always in the lingo and the thing, so I always thought that I would be a doctor for that reason. I don't think I got deeper into the thought. And like Thomas, I liked all the subjects in school, and they all were great in my mind. But it got to a point at one point, I said, I cannot not be a family physician, and it just happened. My mama, who was a neonatologist, she was the biggest supporter of my dad's program. My dad started the first program of family medicine in Panama. And she essentially was a second hand on the activities. My baby brother is a radiologist, though. And
there's always a black sheep in every family.
I'm not going to joke anything.
Except you have 2 black sheep in your family, because you have a lawyer as well.
That's exactly right.
One of them decided he doesn't want to talk to anybody.
That's right.
I'm curious for both of you. Thomas, we'll start with you. Okay. What was it like for you during training, med school and residency, having a dad that was in that same career field, having a dad who was an educator himself, as you're going through a various rigorous education? was he able to give you guidance in some of those hard, dark times we all face?
Absolutely. I think some of the big things, and especially, I think a lot of us that end up in medicine, I feel like, sometimes we find a spot. Maybe you've worked really hard or excelled at things, and maybe certain things came naturally, didn't come naturally. We all kind of hit, I think, at some point in your training, wherever that might be, where the load of it catches up to you.
Yes.
Absolutely ran into that experience, and I think absolutely got just invaluable advice, and also just reassurance. I think one of the other big things is my dad's always been one of those people where if you put the time in and you commit yourself in the right way, things will fall where they will. And if you just keep putting your best foot forward, things continue to fall that way. And that's absolutely been the case. So even times when I felt like, obviously you're drinking from the fire hose and I don't know how much more water I can take. Every time consistently across that, I felt like I think things went really well. And my dad, one of the other things that he did, and I believe continues to do, I know it's not as much in your continued twilight years as you described, but he was also one of the clinical medicine professors there. And so he would have these small groups that would continue to follow with him and say like, hey, wait, I think your dad's my small group leader. Like, yes. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's like the same name. Like, yes, that's him. And so again, same thing. I got a chance to kind of see sort of behind the scenes, behind the curtains, so to speak. I think getting to see some of that made that endpoint, that light at the end of the tunnel, even more visible, which I think was also really important.
Yeah.
Because, going through medical school and even into residency, like, it's trying. No one I think is going to look back and be like, hey, those were the most laid back years of my life. No, I would imagine a majority of people wouldn't say that. But I think most people, if you can kind of get what you need to from it and stop and smell the roses, it makes it a much more meaningful experience. And he was great for that.
That's great. That's great. Dad, how about from your perspective, speaking as a dad myself, seeing your kids grow and enter their profession and thrive in the way they've been gifted is always a button-popping experience. But what was it like seeing a son following in your footsteps, not just in medicine, but in family medicine in particular? Share that.
Well, immense pride, of course, but also stress, because I know exactly what he's going through. You know what he's going through. So you ache a little bit inside knowing exactly what's happening. Right? 400 hospital thing, the sometimes silly expectations for a different rotation. So it did cost me a little bit of grief in that way, but that's just growing pains. And I do agree with Thomas on that. I kind of tend to be on the optimistic side. At least I try to be. So, but that's one thing. Now, one thing that's interesting that I was just thinking about is I grew up being Dr. Owens' son.
Right.
I was Dr. Owens' son, which was a big task to be. My dad was so relevant in medicine there. And then until not long ago, you have a son that is a doctor.
Yeah.
But here, the last few years, I got the experience. Hey, are you Dr. Thomas Owens' father? Yes, I am.
Yeah, there you go.
And I tell you, I like it better this way. The autumn of the patriarch has been a good time.
Honestly, sir, that's got to be, that's what my dad always says too. He got a PhD and then he's like, people are like, are you Dr. Vidalla's dad? He's like, no, I'm Dr. Vidalla. And I think all dads, it's a great moment. But I was like, question for you though. So then you were Dr. Owens' son.
Absolutely.
How did that feel? Like, was there,
Absolutely.
like, when you were in med school, did you feel like you had like a responsibility to?
How can you not?
settle?
How can
Right?
you not? The other thing too is not only, of course, I know we just don't have long enough for me to talk about all of
Sorry.
that. No, it's perfect. But I'm just saying, and it's good to bring up more. The small group leader was like the scratching the surface. As you can imagine, again, one of the absolute favorite places that both of you will know. Dr. Palmer also is one of the people that medical students love to rotate with and get to see. Medical students want to go to Great Plains all the time. I don't have my badge on me right now, so no, I'm not. I'm claiming no association. I have no kickbacks, but legitimately, like that's a bread and butter. Everyone knows that going to work with Dr. Owens, going to work at Great Plains, getting the chance to see how they work, the unbelievable experience that you get over there, and the kind of practice that you guys have, and the kind of quality of medical range that you guys bring. I mean, absolutely. It was just like being the son of a celebrity pretty much my whole life. But of course, as you know, both those things can happen. I always used to joke and people would say, oh, if you're going to go work with your dad, right? I think one of those sides of the things I said And again, I love you so dearly. I said I wouldn't dream of it because both things can occur, right? So like obviously the bar is always this way. You're the son of the esteemed Dr. Tomás Owens, and so the expectation is going to be here on the other side of it. You want to make sure you kind of get a chance to also lay some of your own path too. And so I think the chance to get to be both of those things, to have the chance to have Ben Tomás's son, but also get the chance to get to have our own arenas where we can get together and truly just be family and not have to have all the other red tape parts. You know what I mean? And not to say that some people can't make that work, but I think that's always been one of the things that, can get sometimes hairy. And so we've been really, 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 really blessed to get the chance to come in together and joke and sharing all the positives and not always have to, harp on all the negatives that can come with that.
That's excellent. Excellent. Well, viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us. We're going to take a break here, but we'll be back with another episode continuing our discussion with Dr. Owens and Dr. Owens. Thanks for joining us. See you next time on Fast Talks with Family Docs.
Thank you for joining us today. The doctors would like to see you back for another check-in. Please choose to follow our podcast and you will automatically be notified when it's time for your next appointment.